So good evening, Kaustubh. So this
Good
is your first mock with us, and I'm introducing the panel first of all. And my name is Vipul Parashar. I'm one of the director. Total 15 years of experience in corporate management, teaching, as well as in the retail management. And right now, I think Namita ji will introduce.
Yeah. Hi, I am Kaustubh. I'm Namita, and
Hi.
I'm a psychologist and I'm into psychometrics also. So don't worry, I'm not going to judge. This is just not my job to judge anybody. I'm going to be playing the role of a facilitator and a helper, right? And above all, I'm a well-wisher for all my students that I come across. So that's all from my introduction. But I have been into teaching for more than 15 plus years, and that I love to teach. That's all from my side. Over to Mr. Jitender. Yeah.
Hi, Kaustubh. My name is Jitender, and I have been a teacher for 15 years, and I have been associated with EduShastra for last 10 years as a quant faculty. Yeah, over to sir.
Yes. So, Kaustubh, my first question is very basic. Okay, it will start with why you should be selected.
So why should I be selected? So I offer 4 qualities in me. First of all is my diversity. Being from the rural background, I bring the ground reality to the table. Second of all, I bring the perspective also. As an engineer, I knew different perspective to a project. I bring and share my experience as well. And so third of all, I'm determined, and I have been I'm from the rural area. I'm sitting here right now. That shows that I'm a determined candidate. And fourth of all means I'm a compassionate player. So that's it.
So the point is the competencies, you are from rural area, and that's why you should be selected.
No, sir, I just said to you the 4 points: diversity, compassionate, endurance, and perspective, sir. Not
So
just one point.
How do you bring diversity?
Diversity is being from the rural areas, sir. So as you can see, most of the 80 to 85% of the candidates applying the CAT are from the urban areas. And most of this is the rural area from the movies and TVs like that. But I bring you on the table the rural area, rural India.
Okay. So you're from Assam, am I correct?
No, sir, not from Assam. I'm from Maharashtra.
Maharashtra.
Nagpur district. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me just around 5 main things about Maharashtra. I don't know much. Let's say I'm a layman.
Oh.
And you are telling me about Maharashtra.
Sure.
Which 5
sure.
talk about?
Okay, so first of all, you all know about Mumbai. Mumbai is the financial capital of India. But the interesting thing about Maharashtra, it has 2 capitals. One is also a winter capital, which is Nagpur.
Okay.
And we have Nagpur is the center of the India, where the biggest Mihan project is going on. And again, saying it's a tiger reserve also. There is a Pench forest also, where the tiger reserve is there. And
tiger reserve, you're saying? What did you say?
Tiger, Pench and Tadoba, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, also the Mumbai is the port, and there are lots of things. But one more thing, Hapus, the Alfonso mango, is a very famous. So everybody knows about it. Yeah.
Okay. So now tell me 5 main qualities of yourself. Adjectives.
5 main qualities. Sure, sir. Sure. So 5 main qualities I will say. First is my critical thinking. Second is the visual thinking. Third is my work management, which I learned during my working. Okay. And the fourth is I'm a compassionate player, so I'm emotional as well. So that I consider it as my strength. And fourth, I'm a team player.
You're a team player. Okay. That's great. See, leadership comes as a very big point when we talk about any business. So what kind of, let's say if I look at your past, if you look at your past, can you just recount some incidents in which we can see the facet of leadership in your life?
Sure, sir. I will just share my experience from my work experience. Okay. So there was a project on the PWD Gadchiroli. It is in a Naxalite area. If you don't know, that's a Naxalite area we consider as a red zone. So we had a project over there for construction of roads over there. So as a new joinee, I went with my senior over there for carrying out the construction survey activities. Before the construction, there are survey activities in the civil construction project. So I went over there, and the thing was that the village where the road was to be constructed was deep in the jungle, and there was no road or no vehicle facility over there to go over there. So my senior was like, he was not going to risk it to going into the jungle for just a meager salary of 50K. So that time I felt like I had some, as a being an engineer. Hello?
Just a minute, just a minute. Keep the
Sure.
speed low, actually. The clarity of your voice is not very good right now. Might be the net issues. So just keep the speed. Okay. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So during my work, I had a project on PWD Gadchiroli, where I need to go over to the remote areas in the Gadchiroli, which comes under the Naxalite areas. So there, where I went over there with my senior colleague. So the thing was that there was no road connectivity, so vehicles can't go into the jungle where we need to carry out the survey activities. And it was like a danger to human being because it's an Naxalite area. So my senior told me that I'm not going into the jungle and we are going to return from here. But as being the civil engineer, I had a strong feeling towards giving back to the society. So I, without saying a word, I just kept going into the jungle and seeing how I, without even being hesitant, I just walked into it. That showed my leadership skill, and my senior colleague followed me, considering that we have a social, we have like a responsibility towards our society, because if you don't carry out this survey activity, the project won't be completed, and the people of that village won't have access to the facilities, and there won't be a development. That's what I think that shows my leadership qualities.
Okay. So over to Namita ji.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Hi, Kaustubh. You just described that you're from a rural background, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And management B schools, that is B schools, are terribly in need of diversity. Diversity means like the kind of discussions they hold in the classroom sessions. They want as much diversity to enter those classrooms as it is possible for them to introduce into. Now, therefore, I have curiosity, because you said you're from a rural background.
Sure,
and I like the fact that you're pretty proud of it, right? So if I ask you, what are some of the aspects of rural India, and especially the part that you come from, what are certain aspects of rural India, and especially from the context of Maharashtra, that can be brought into the notice of management experts? For example, as you know, management is sometimes the key to development, positive growth and something like that. So what are certain aspects of the rural part of your village that you think you can bring into discussions of those B school classrooms? Can you think of those?
Sure, ma'am. If you're considering the aspect, I will consider both the good and bad aspect of a village. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So considering the bad aspect was that, like, people here do not follow the trend of putting the garbage disposal into the garbage bin. They like throw it away and just burn it away after they're piling it up. So that's one thing that needs to be addressed. And second thing is that in a good perspective, like, people are very tight communicated here. Like they show a social understanding of each other during the COVID times when there is one household they got infected because of the COVID, and their entire family was affected, so they couldn't cook for themselves or even procure the groceries. So what happened? Neighbors did all the things for them, like cooking, giving them lunch and dinner and everything. That shows that there is a social understanding and their neighborhoodness.
Correct.
Okay, that's one point. And again, this could be bringing on the management table, as you can see in the more corporate world, we are being like more competitive than being the social understanding over there. So we can put this point forward of the rural India over the table.
So because I would like to continue on this, so I have another curiosity. Do you think, are there any companies that are already making very good use of some of the positive qualities of our villages? Do you have any idea of those companies?
No, sometimes I know about Amul. Amul is like procuring things from rural area about the milk and all, giving opportunities. But other than that, there's nothing else coming to my mind right now.
Actually, I would like to pitch in at this point of time. The Tata Group has done a lot of work on this. Like when it comes to their recruitment policies, they are incorporating a lot of young talent from the rural areas or from the very, very small cities of our areas of our country. and especially the rural areas. You know why? Because of the kind of values, set of value systems that the young people from the rural areas incorporate. And this was something visible when there was this attack on the Taj Hotel in Mumbai. And this was a very good example of especially those rural youth working for the Taj Group, and especially for that hotel. They did not leave the hotel and they kept working in order to facilitate the guests that were already staying over there. And that is how they could minimize the casualty during the terrorist attack. So practically, these are some of the set of values that you can discuss while talking about the kind of values you can bring in to the table, to the table of discussion. Right. So that is one thing I can think of. I have another curiosity about the kind of background that your professional background that you just said that you happen to be a civil engineer, right?
Yes.
So I mean, the way a civil engineer thinks about, so what is it that a civil engineer can contribute to the management, the discipline of management? Can you think of that?
Sure, ma'am. Being a civil engineer, we have to construct a structure considering all the aspects and considering all the aspects. So, suppose you are going to build a structure, so you consider what's the live load going to be, what's the dead load, what's the accidental lateral pressure, or this overall picture you have to take in. Okay, so that's what the civil engineer's quality is, considering the overall picture and evaluating each and every minute aspect of it. That's what a civil engineer brings to the table. Management. And most of all, civil engineers works on the huge projects which consider a huge amount of finance and labor resources, and you have to deal with lots of people to get the things done. So in India, the pressure pays because you have to handle government employees, your clients, and labor also. So you can see the civil engineer what brings to the table.
Yeah. So basically, you're trying to say it is something that involves a lot of good planning on your part.
Yes,
so if there is good planning, the projects are going to go ahead with a lot of smooth sailing. They smooth sail with the idea. Correct. And yes, I will suggest, I will come up with my suggestion at the end of this session. So I'll just ask Mr. Jitender to take over, and then I'll come back again with the wording. Right. Yeah.
Kaustubh, you talked about Naxalite movement. This is a big problem. Because the enemy is not outside, it is in.
Enemy is within.
Enemy is within. So what are the reasons? And as a manager, if you are given a responsibility in government as a consultant, or what will you suggest to the government? What should be the steps taken to at least minimize, to curb this Naxalite movement and to solve this problem?
Sure. First, as I said, there is no connectivity to the villages, remote villages in the jungle over there. So one thing is that being the roads, being the basic infrastructure of development, first thing should be there should be connectivity. So I will address to your problem, sir. As you see, the government has already put lots of schemes for the Naxalites. If you surrender, like I will just give an example. I was over there, so I talked some Naxalites over there. Naxalites is not Naxalite, but former Naxalite, I would say that. They just surrendered and get. So the thing is that the scheme are there. I don't know if they are still right now active or not. But the scheme was like, if you surrender, if the Naxalites surrender, they get the amount of like 3 lakh and a guaranteed job or for their surrender. But the thing is that even providing such schemes, the people are hesitant because they are like there is a sandwich, because the CRPF forces are like pressuring the local people and Naxalite people who have agenda with political connection as well. They're pressurizing the citizens, local citizens. That's what the real crux is here, sir. So if you want to like do something, if I have a manager and I want to do something, first of all, my agenda is to providing all the facilities so that it's better connectivity. The small villages are there; they don't have even a small medical facility or they are not a local access to education, sir. So first, on my priority list will be to give them access to all these facilities, and then further down the lane, we will providing more awareness campaign and all in the local villages and all.
Yeah. Okay. What about other problems? What problems do you think existing in our country that should be addressed? And if given a chance to you, how will you address them? What are the other problems?
So
major problems.
If I consider the major problem is going to be political, sir. the thing we have, there's the parliament issue. As you can see, if anybody watch parliament, is not it's not happening a group discussion, or like they are discussing on a development topic in a more civilized manner. They are like shouting each other, and like they are like criticizing each other, not planning the future ahead. So as a manager, and if I are given the control, I will establish a civilized manner of discussion over there. If you want to discuss something deal, that should be done in a more proper civilized manner, where each and everybody's point to be heard. If I if I consider, if I become a manager of like who has control over this institution, and I facilitate this proper smooth functioning of it, I believe most of the other major issues will be solved within an efficient manner.
Okay, Kaustubh, that's it from my side. Over to Namita ma'am for the verdict.
Yeah. So I'll just take this opportunity to suggest a few things. Number one, because see, what you say contains a lot of content. I mean, there's a lot of content, but then like the kind of questions we have given you, and you know, the kind of similar question that may be asked during a real interview. This happens to be, I think, the very first mock that you are going that you're having with us. Now, what I would suggest is that try to speak, slightly slowly, because though you are audible, at times it takes some effort on part of the interviewer to try to understand you completely, because the content you're giving is pretty good. It is pretty much like considerable. It is worth considering, right? And number one, for example, the question that Jitender sir asked you, when you think of a solution, right? You know that Naxalite problem is a very big problem, right? Yes. And they're asking for a solution, kind of your suggestions. So practically the suggestions that you come up with, try to give those suggestions from your angle, right? From a layman's angle. So I mean, just be specific to that and try to name them. Like you can say that something needs to be done at the grassroots level, because the problem of Naxalite problem is does also have a socio-economic angle to it, right? It has a social angle because it is the roots of Naxalite movement. They are embedded into the kind of society they are a part of, because they're the caste-related discrimination, then socioeconomic discrimination, and various other kinds of discrimination. So practically suggest something that is the root cause of the problem. So we need to do something about it, right? And then second thing you can say, I mean, try to come up with few examples, but try to elaborate on them. Don't try to say too much, right? Because see, root cause of the problem is that socioeconomic plus society, the caste structure and things like that, right? And apart from that, because of Naxalite problem or something, I'm using that as an example, a lot of violence also takes place, because of which a lot of casualties happen, and the government has to suffer a lot. So you can also say, because they resort to violence, we need to do something which can minimize the damage. So don't say much, but say something concrete. And whatever you say that these are my opinion. These are my opinion, because if you try to say something from others' opinion, they may question you. If you say these are your opinions, nobody will be able to question you, because you're a unique individual. Number one. And as I said already, say in a very, I mean, what you speak is making a lot of sense, but as I said, try to minimize your ideas. Don't depend too much on description. Try to stick around, like just think of these questions when this interview session is over. Think of these questions. Try to jot down, try to minimize your ideas to a few points, and then see, you can talk about a category, talk about, like as I said, socio-economic causes of Naxalite movement, or the society related or caste related causes, or minimizing the damage. 2, 3. So practically the value of any answer will depend upon how many ideas it contains, right? So this is all I have to say. And the kind of educational background you have, like you happen to be a civil engineer, right? Yes, and you've already worked into it. So whatever questions are asked, try to think from the angle of a civil engineer. So you just have to keep in mind, what does a civil engineer do? He has to resort to a lot of planning. Plus, you've already said you're a decision maker. You do have leadership qualities, as you suggested, and that you're also a team player. So all these 2, 3 qualities are very much the qualities of a typical civil engineer. So when they ask you, when any question is asked, like, how do you say that you're a team player or a good decision maker or happen to be good, happen to have good leadership skills? You can literally say, because I happen to come from a certain areas which requires pretty much integrated, coordinated kind of planning, wherein we have to work with a big team, right? And only when the support of all those people come, like, is very much in place, that we are able to deliver a good project or something like that. So always gain confidence from your original identity, core identity, and that of a civil engineer. And try to answer questions from this angle, and then try to prove that the kind of traits you have listed in your resume, or the kind of traits that you say that you do have, they try to justify them from the kind of work that you have done. Okay, and then try to speak a little slowly, right? And try to jot down to your ideas to a few points and think like a layman. Otherwise, you are already there. You do have the potential to make it. Just work on these ideas, and I think it should deliver the goods.
Thanks, Suman. That was a great feedback.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think with these, and as I said, like, Sir has come up with a few points, kind of questions. Think about them. I mean, Jitender Sir has given you some ideas. Then Vipul Sir has also given you a few ideas. Try to work on them. What unique ideas can you contribute to? And your answer was very good. I liked your answer when you said that you happen to come from the rural background, rural kind of background. So you're going to bring in a fresh insight into the discussions. Then that is also a pretty potential idea. Think about what else can you think from a rural Indian point of view. So the more you think, the more ideas you're going to have. And believe me, once you think in quite a depth, believe me, you will be able to answer almost all the questions pretty convincingly. Right. And this is one unique factor that I liked your answer when you said, and because see, your answer reflects that you're pretty much proud of the fact that you happen to come from rural India. So stick to that. Stick to that.
Sure.
So that's all from my side. All the very best.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Some points to add.
Sure.
I'll start with the positives first, okay?
Okay. Sure.
The first point, the positive was, all the answers were very distinct and discrete. The points you were making, you were bulleting the points, and that shows a very clarity of thinking and clarity of communication. So distinct and discreteness was clearly seen. Number two, when you said rural point, it was a very, very good diversity it will bring. That's not there is no question about it. But then also it should be, it should have drilled down to a skills point, or drilled down to talent point, or some learning point. It was a very, very generalized statement you made. Just like I will make a statement, I'm from Punjab, that's why you should take into it. If I'm Punjab, what kind of a learning, what kind of a skill set, what kind of a talent I'm talking about, what exactly I'm making the point. Rural, I understand. Most of the people are from urban, and you are from rural. It's a diversity. But what exactly is the diversity? Do you bring some kind of a specific learning? Do you bring some specific talent? Do you bring some kind of a point you must have made? And so in totality, 6 points out of 10. The oration skills you lack. Basically, you had a lot of content to talk about, but you were not allowing that to establish. I mean to say, see, there is a way of presentation. If I'm making a point, and let's say I'm just making a commentary and just running through it, let's say. So will you be able to make out what exactly I'm saying? If I have to make a point, if I'm clear about it, I should be having pauses. I should be slow. I should be, it's just like a punch, you know. If you're punching someone, the timing is very important, and the punch should be very, very, I would say, it should touch right at the moment when you want it, and then take a pause. So that was not there. Content was there. It was a lot of material to talk about, but I always felt just like there was a lot of potential in a person, but he's not able to deliver in totality. I meant to say, just like in cricket, if there's a ball, you are hitting it very good, but it's not reaching six, it is not reaching to the boundary. Reason being, the timing, the punch, the real punch is, it's not actually giving the, I would say the real momentum, as we say. Okay, chalo, it's a first one, so we'll see a lot of improvements in you. Acha, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Yeah,
Good night.
good night. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah. Yeah.